right? You
Mhm.
have your starting draft, and then
Yes.
you rewrite it and you rewrite it and you rewrite it. And what you end up with in traditional lit, it's called the manuscript, but in Hollywood,
Yes.
I think it's called the working draft, which is the
Yes.
draft that's almost done, but it's not quite there. And you have other people look at it at this point. You work it, you hash it, you workshop
Yes.
it, right? If
But
you
but but the principal scriptwriter of Disclosure Day has
right,
42 drafts. This isn't including
right,
drafts from
that's
Steven. This isn't including drafts from, hey, can you punch this up a little bit?
right, that's the problem in my brain. Is it's 42 drafts, and we don't know if that's before the working draft, which would be bad enough, but maybe they really struggled with the idea, or if it's after the working draft, which is so much worse. That sounds very much like Star Trek, uh, Discovery and Academy and whatnot, where it's 20 producers all putting small adjustments on the draft to get their name in. That's I mean, I thought everybody understood too many chefs is a truism for a reason.
Mm-hmm. So first
Also,
things
hey,
first.
we're live, everybody.
Yes, yes. So before the show, you mentioned you wanted to talk about what disclosure means, where it comes from,
All right.
the etymology of disclosure.
All right. So, I like conspiracy theories. I find them fun. That's not a statement of endorsement. That's a statement of I find these amusing to look at sometimes. Um, I have learned to hate Ancient Aliens only because it's like spreading shit on perfectly good archaeology. Its popularity has ruined it for me. But there are other elements of conspiracy and ufology that are interesting. The Philadelphia experiment, for instance. I really like the idea that we were doing something with a ship and something happened, and we don't know what, and the government's not saying. Whatever. My old man in the Navy may have seen a stealth boat, and he may have seen a stealth bomber, and he didn't know what they were. He called them unidentified because he was just a bosun. He didn't know what they were. That's what you call them. Um, and then like a decade later, when they were big, when they became big news, he's like, "Oh, I think I saw one of those." Right? Um, the thing is that if you look at the history of ufology, which is not a real science, it's a cult, it's a religion, it's a belief system from the 50s and like Project Blue Book to the 60s and the Age of Aquarius to the alien abduction phenomena to now, it has always mutated to reflect the time. And as the uh, Berlin Wall came down, the idea of sort of spies and men in black actually fell out of vogue, although it was, popular media, because we were no longer looking for spies, right? We were no longer looking for alien spies or government spies or, they're covering the information. Instead, there were several very successful Freedom of Information Acts. And
Yes.
as you may or may not recall, Groom Lake, Dreamland, Area 51, what have you,
Yeah.
um, famously got in trouble for illegal dumping and burning of toxic waste because it's a black site, right? And this
Yes.
invigorated the UFO community. They started saying, the big reveal is coming. And as we know now, every couple of years, when something has gone really wrong, the government likes to trot out, we're gonna share some UFO documents, and everyone's like, "See, here it is. This is it." Um, Para-political individuals, people with access but maybe not serious representation, or former military and former political who, because they're no longer in the inside, can now be very relaxed about their weird beliefs that they kept under their hat, have coined the idea of disclosure. Disclosure is coming. It is the ufology uh rapture. It's the revelation. Literally, the day of disclosure will arrive. The government will say, "Yes, we knew aliens exist. Yes, we have the UFOs. Here's the proof. We're telling everyone. You're ready for it. We hid it for too long. You were always right, and your naysayers were always wrong, right? So on a surface level, without knowing what the movie is about, because I didn't see it, you did, one would assume Disclosure Day is going to be about the day that happens, or the day and the immediate aftermath of that revelation. The day the UFO lands on the White House, what happens next?
Oh God, no.
Right, but that's what it arguably should have been. Like that's almost an interesting movie.
So let me talk a little bit about the writer of this movie, because he
Okay.
has been working professionally since 1988. Name is
Okay.
David Cohen.
I've heard of
Uh,
that name.
and and I'm going to mention some of the movies
Is
he's done.
is he one of the Cohen brothers?
He is not. He's
Okay.
a co-ep, not a Cohen.
Oh, Coeb. All right.
So he wrote a movie you might remember, starring Dolph Lundgren, called Dark Angel, which was originally titled "I Come in Peace."
I love that movie. I
He wrote
have that movie.
he wrote
He
he did the screenplay for Toy Soldiers.
that gentleman is also a whack job, but
He has
who
a
gets to that?
written by credit for Death Becomes Her. He did the
Ah,
screenplay for Jurassic Park, for Carlito's Way.
wow.
He has a written by credit for
Th-
The Shadow.
This is a skilled
He
individual.
he has a story and screenplay credit for Mission Impossible. He has a screenplay credit for uh, Jurassic Park: The Lost World. Story and screenplay credit for Snake Eyes. That was a Nicolas Cage movie, if you don't remember it.
No, I do remember it actually. It's a boxing set, isn't it?
Kind of, sort of. There's like a big hurricane in Atlantic City, and there's a murder mystery.
Right, right, right.
Uh, Screenplay credit on the original Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Screenplay credit for Zathura, War of the Worlds. Also a credit for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, doing the screenplay.
All right, so let's
Here,
talk about how this guy is a whack job for
oh no
just
no
a
no
minute.
no 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 no! It gets worse. He
Okay,
has a screenplay credit for Angels and Demons,
that doesn't surprise me when we get to talking about why he's a whack job.
the Mummy movie starring Tom Cruise,
Oh no.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny,
Oh no.
and Jurassic World Rebirth, or as we previously called it, Jurassic World Afterbirth.
Oh no.
So you notice he had a trajectory of respectable quality films and schlock now.
Well, here's the thing, because this is actually a very interesting classroom example. Because we always talk about this idea like people have lost their minds currently, and we go, well, how'd they
Yes.
get more crazy? No, he was always crazy. So you remember I Come in Peace, which used to be called,
Yes.
which also alternative title Dark Angel. Do you know
Yes.
why the alternative name is Dark Angel?
I don't.
Okay, so the story of I Come in Peace is an alien comes to Earth to harvest our dopamine directly from our
Yes.
bodies using overdoses because it's extremely pure because it is a drug back on his alien planet.
Yes.
And he is chased by an alien cop who dies in the line of duty, but passes his alien ray gun to Dolph
Dolph
Lundgren
Lundgren.
and the guy from Dream On, who is the comedic sidekick.
Yes.
The thing is that these aliens are essentially implied to be 8 foot tall, but they have to use careful camera tricks to make a 6 foot tall dude look real
Look.
tall.
Yeah. Yeah.
um the thing is that they are not supposed to be aliens to the writer. Obviously the production company and the producers said no, 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 aliens we can sell. They're supposed to be angels. He has a stated belief in that ancient alien theology and the idea that our biblical image of angels, fallen and upper, is both the Judaic idea of sort of the giants, right? The very
Mhm.
tall, glowing
Yeah. Yeah.
eyed
Yeah. Yeah.
individuals,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that they're aliens. So God is an alien. The upper beings are aliens. One day we will join the galactic community.
Now that you say this, Joe,
It
this whole
makes
movie would
way more
be way.
sense, doesn't it?
So let's talk about Please Close It Day. So so the movie starts where a guy is recovering all the lost information that got stolen about the aliens from the not government agency, and he, however, gets the information, but he's actually working for the secret conspiracy in the not government agency that wants to disclose the information to the public. And also, aliens experimented on him to give him the perfect ability to understand mathematics, which he also sometimes can use to translate language. Then we feature Emily Blunt, who's a weather lady who gets visited by a bird, which isn't a bird, by the way. The bird is a alien that they visited her, like the guy that gave the perfect ability in math. They gave her the ability to speak and understand other languages, and also occasionally have telepathy when it's convenient for the plot. And so the not government agency is going to recover these two people. And so the not government agency does 2.5 chase scenes, and there's lots of talking about, should we release the information about the aliens? How's this stuff happening? Well, it's because of the aliens. The head of the not government agency uses a alien dongle to be able to telepathically connect with people over distances, because aliens consider the highest form of civilization to be empathy.
Ugh.
And what and they show the horrors of the not government agency to the global public to help them have a giant empathy moment to show the aliens that we are ready to be uplifted to the galactic community. And do you know how they show this to the general public?
Do tell.
On a broadcast news station in Kansas City, which somehow gets picked up by other news stations that somehow everybody in the world is watching.
So what you're telling me is watch The Prophecy instead. It's a better movie.
I mean, there are a lot of better movies, but the problem with this movie is it Steven had a not even fully baked idea, and it didn't really develop, because also the secret conspiracy within the secret conspiracy built a perfect reproduction of Emily Blunt's childhood home, so she could remember that the magical animals that used to play with her as a little kid were actually aliens, and that they touched her in
Right.
her brain. Which you don't need her to remember that because she already has her psychic powers. You just tell
Right.
her, "Hey, listen, lady, you have psychic powers because aliens touched you in your brain." There's also a scene that's a reproduction of a cool scene from Steven Spielberg's first movie. Um, it's only there for that.
It's not ideal.
It's not ideal. There's a new John Williams score in the movie. That is a positive for the movie.
Well, let's be clear. Is it a new John Williams score, or is it John Williams bar leavings that he has uh sold? Excuse me a moment.
In several parts of the movie, the music was very good, and it doesn't have the Steven Spielberg color palette. It's less desaturated than your average movie, but it's desaturated from the Steven Spielberg standard.
Okay.
Which is like, if I'm wanting to see a Steven Spielberg movie, I'm wanting a certain kind of color. So let's talk a little bit about the idea of disclosure about aliens, because there's also World War III happening in the background of this movie, and World War III is somehow being used for a purpose related to the alien plot. I don't fucking know. But this movie operates under several premises that I believe are faulty. Joe, let's say tomorrow
Well,
aliens
I'm
showed up.
I'm I'm gonna let you cook, but there is another ufology mythology that interweaves here.
Okay.
So one of the things going all the way back to the 50s is the idea that there are like 5 different alien races in our local space.
Yes, there's
Who,
there's actually a meme of the Nordics meeting with Donald Trump recently.
yeah, I was gonna say the thing about the Nordics is that they are essentially, though they are currently dressed to look like Scandinavians in the meme, they're actually essentially people from the Federation, like Star Trek,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
no.
they're here to save us. But like the reptilians and the Greys are not.
Well, don't forget there's also the insectoids who also
Right.
aren't.
Right. We've made an extended mythology about how the galaxy is adversary or going to destroy us. Interestingly enough, based off of various movies and TV people have seen, which
Yeah,
we weren't supposed to catch on to.
yeah,
But hey, the ones that look like us are here to save us.
exactly. So Joe, let's say you wake up tomorrow morning on the Twitter and everybody is filming alien spaceships. What do you think the reaction of the world would be?
uh, Frankly, any conflicts we've got would probably stop for a good couple of hours.
Yeah, the classic Ronald Reagan speech.
Not well. The thing is, I'm not saying it'd be in a positive way. It would be in a oh shit what.
Kind of like that movie uh not Contact. What's the one where the weird aliens have the word language? Uh
uh, Close Encounters.
no. Well, we're going to talk about Close Encounters though. Just a second, I got to look this movie up. So
But
so what do you think would happen?
basically, what I'm saying is that there would be countries that
Arrival.
would right.
Arrival is the name of the movie.
I'm basically saying there are countries that would look at it and say it's fake and would want to continue being shitty.
Well,
But there would be
no, because there'd be people in every country filming the aliens. Aliens show up
right,
everywhere
right.
in this hypothetical.
Well, that's the thing is that there were people that would basically say it's an American plot. There are
Mhm.
people that would say it's not an American plot, and there are people that would say we have to watch and wait because we need to see if they're going to align with our enemies or align with us. So there'd be a lot of uncertainty, but not World War III. Aliens would
Also,
not cause World War III.
also, people wouldn't think that religion gets thrown in the toilet because aliens exist.
Well, I don't. Here's the thing. Because I actually saw that headline, which was taken out of context. I don't think Steven Spielberg was saying that either.
Well, the
I think he.
movie kind of said that, but then a nun said, "Well, actually, in the Bible, it implies that there are other worlds. So we're just the best
Right.
ones that were on this world."
Right. I think that Steven Spielberg said something neutral enough but controversial enough that he knew it would inspire hate watching because he knew he had, if not a dud, at least a middling failure on his hands.
Well, the movie wanted to have that message, but it was ill-formed, like much of the messaging in the movie.
Right.
So I don't think religions would have a problem. I think Catholicism would say, well, God created life all over the universe. The These are God's children too. The Mormons
There's
already have a plan for that. The Nation of
I,
Islam already has a plan for that.
I think there is that, and I think that the religions of the world in various ways would argue that they were the chosen people because they were the ones personally illuminated by God by whatever metric, be it the prophet or
Yeah.
Jesus or the Torah, that their relationship is more special than those of the equally appropriate alien life forms who had a different relationship with God that was lesser. Because
I
that's just
also
how we
think
do it.
I also think the world governments would stop with their bullshit, and they would probably talk to each other for a little bit until they figure out a way to get an advantage in regards to the alien situation.
Well, I think it's an interesting permutation because earlier we were talking about magic and firearms and how that would affect social politics. I don't think people realize that part of the reason for the interwar period between World War One and World War Two, and things like the failed League of Nations and the nascent UN, right, was these were responses to globe-changing events where everyone said, "Whoa, let's put the brakes on what we've done before. We need to consider new options." And the arrival of aliens would be like that. It's not that what I want to be very clear about is it's not that anybody would just stop and be like, and we're all friends now. There are aliens, right?
They're like,
Everybody,
listen,
everybody would still hate each other.
listen. We all have a group project we really need to work on right now.
Right,
We can deal with our animosities later. And
right.
I think the average schlub on the street would be like going, "Holy shit, there's aliens." I mean, that doesn't change the fact that I'm paying $7 a gallon for gasoline, and there's like 19% inflation. But holy crap, there's aliens.
Well, let me say it because he's not here. But if Ayrton was here, you and I know that around the world in bars, somebody like Ayrton would be like, "Huh, aliens. Do you think we could have sex with them?" Like
I
that
mean, that would be
conversation
a
would
thing,
happen.
but it wouldn't be like a big, shocking, world-changing moment. But
Right.
so I think the problem is like something I wrote about how we used to be able to be united by things like the moon landing and stuff like that, and that architecture doesn't exist. So I think that could be very interesting that the aliens come and we get an architecture that can unite us because, oh my God, there's aliens. That would be the interesting story. Not how the disclosure of aliens being real happened, but what happens once we know they're real.
Well, that's the thing. When I was talking about what this movie should actually be about, I'm going to make a comparison to a much better film, even though it's not a film I particularly care for. If you said we're going to make the Pelican Brief,
Mhm.
but in the Pelican Brief is the proof about aliens, right?
That could actually be interesting.
Right. The story is about the context of the revelation,
Yes.
right? That's a solid film.
Yeah.
I actually don't think that aliens land, everyone aligns is the story that happens. What I think actually happens is aliens arrive, and if they are peaceful, everyone is confused. There's a lot of talking, possibly fighting, possibly disparate complexities. On the other
Mhm.
hand, if a Day the Earth stood still happens, or a Independence Day happens, that would actually unify humanity because we will absolutely unify against an external threat across cultural lines.
Yeah.
I,
So
you know,
what do you think Steven Spielberg is has lost his ability to sell wonder to audiences?
because he doesn't understand his audiences anymore. He is literally out of touch. And it's funny because the evidence was right in front of him. You know what would have made $1 million and would have instantly had fans and people eagerly jumping up and down to see what Steven could do?
Hmm.
ET2.
That could have been interesting.
Not because I want an ET2, but in a post Stranger Things world. If you said we're going to do a movie with an older Elliot with his son or his daughter, right? And we advertise it as return, or go back to that world you remember of being young and wonder, right? 100%. Nobody believes in disclosure date. I don't even think ufologists believe in disclosure date, because just like end of the world prophecies for 2012, it's been going on for so long. Even if they did, as I've said before, even if they did disclose, not only would no one believe it, no one would care. If you don't tell us we're disclosing, and here's the United States UFO, the first of our Space Force ships, it's not interstellar, but it can go to orbit and back in less than a minute, and it can defend our planet from threats foreign and domestic. People would care about that. But people are not going to care about just here's some dry paperwork that says, yeah, we saw aliens.
I also saw the that felt more like a Steven Spielberg movie. And that was the Amazing Digital Search for an
You're breaking
indie
up.
cartoon that went.
You're breaking up a bit. Did you say you saw the Amazing Digital Circus?
The Amazing Digital Circus Last Act. So we're going to talk about that because it's interesting. This little indie that was indie animation that got picked up by Netflix as a bit of counter programming to Has Been Hotel. They released their last 2 episodes as a movie, and that movie has made $37 million. So, do you remember the gist of the Amazing Digital Circus?
I mean, I do, and I will describe it as best I can, but you gotta deal with your tech problem. The
Because
Amazing
I'm
Digital.
hearing you breaking up. I'm hearing
Mm,
you do the breakup, not the other way around.
all right. If it's me, then let me leave and come back, just real quick.
Okay. Okay. Let's sort out our technicals.
Yep, there I am. Come on, Larry. I mean, you're there. You don't have an avatar, but you are present. Poor K. We're professionals here, folks.
There we go.
Yep. Now I can hear you. No, and now you're gone. Damn it.
Actually, I hit the wrong button.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't have an avatar, but we can see you.
Well, that's next. I get my avatar fixed.
Yeah.
What you can recall of the Amazing Digital Circus?
The Amazing Digital Circus concerns a clown girl named Pommy who wakes up in a strange, otherworldly environment with a color cast of characters who are all at the behest of a giant pair of chatter teeth with eyes named Kane. And as they both try to figure out where they are in the bottle and interact, they go on a series of misadventures, this being the penultimate chapter of their adventure.
Yes. So It is also heavily inspired by the classic "I have no mouth, but I must scream,"
Right.
and Cain is an allegory for Am. So this is the episode where Cain goes crazy,
Mm,
and the characters realize, wait, we can maybe hack the system, and
right.
they all suffer. They're all tortured. Cain goes really crazy, and they successfully delete him. Although there's an asterisk to deletion, they deleted him on the computer where they were all located. They did not delete him off the server.
Right.
Remember, kids, always delete your things off the server. And they go through a period in the ruined paradise that their god had created, and that they had driven God out, and they proceeded to go about rebuilding it. But the Bugs Bunny based character, who is based off of the guy that got turned into an ape man, I believe, in in the classic "I Have No Mouth Must Scream," he abstracted, which is a thing that happens when you kind of lose your marbles.
Right.
And Pomni goes inside his head, and we finally learned out why he's so damaged and broken. He was a homeless runaway who got involved in the experiment that created everything. We're going to get to the experiment that created everything in a minute. And then he became friends with one of the other people, the frog girl that they had alluded to in several episodes. The frog girl opened up to him, said, "I ran away from my parents because they're Mormon and I didn't want to be Mormon." And he's like, "Yeah, I ran away because my mom hugged me and I freaked out and I slammed her into the ground. I hope I didn't kill her." And then he freaks out because he had revealed that to her.
Seems
And
like
then
a
does
seems like a series of gross overreactions.
Yes, yes, but he comes from an abusive home. And that was what
Right.
he grew up learning.
Right.
It makes sense to the character. But our girl Pomni attempts to save him, but her friends save Pomni from being destroyed in the process of trying to save him.
Right.
In that time, Kane is exploring the infinite, the void of the server, and he finds where the brain scans are. And he pulls out the brain scans of all the people who are part of the project. And he thinks, I'm just going to start again. I'm just going to remake everything. But he doesn't do that. He instead decides to look at who the people the brain scans are of and checks out their social media.
Okay.
And then he pulls out the part of him that makes him crazy in his brain because he was based off of a technician who designed part of the system who had a brain tumor, who was really brilliant, could really think abstractly, but nobody could think as abstractly as him because, again, brain tumor. Brain
Right.
tumor gave him smarts. So Kane returns, tells everybody, listen, I was a ginormous asshole. I am super sorry, but I promise I'm going to make everything better for all of you. And then he reveals the actual big secret of the show, which isn't that big of a secret if you start to think about it. Everybody in the show had some kind of traumatic brain injury.
Right.
They were all given access to an experimental brain scan in an attempt to make digital avatars of themselves. And, they signed up for the medical research. Sign up for the medical research, get your medical research rewards. The rabbit guy, he thought he was schizophrenic, needed the brain scan, see if they could fix his brain, yada, yada, yada. And then the characters learn that they're not people trapped in a giant computer. And then they just get to live their lives. So we have a renegade AI god who looked at people and realized, oh my God, I'm an asshole that doesn't possess any empathy. Maybe I should do something about that. Doesn't that feel more like a Steven Spielberg movie
I mean, it
than
has
what we
bits.
got with
It,
Disclosure
it,
Day?
it has bits of it because it's about people. It's about
Yeah,
emotions. It's about themes.
yes.
And that's the thing, is that your description of Disclosure Day, things just happen. Your
They had
disclosure
a
of
theme. They had a theme that they talked about a
yeah,
lot, but the theme didn't make any goddamn sense.
right. Now, I don't particularly care for the Amazing Digital Circus's theme, but at least it's a coherent theme that I understand.
Yeah.
It's a theme that I would want to engage. I just don't care for what there is to engage with it. But that actually gives us a segue of all things. We're gonna segue because this, oddly enough, reflects a comic I read today. Not today, but this week.
All right.
Um,
Let's hear about a comic.
yeah, I got two of them, but I'm going to talk about this one first. I read the 2023 Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, DC
Okay.
Comics Elseworld by a writer artist Raphael Grandpa. Yes, his name is Grandpa. He's our grandpa.
Okay.
And what it is about is it is a 4-issue run in which a young Bruce Wayne makes the dire decision early in his career that he must cut away Bruce Wayne. The Bruce Wayne is the thing that is holding him back. He must become a more pure, detached Batman, right?
Well, that's stupid.
Sure, but it's the basic thesis of the piece. The thing
Mhm.
is that as he investigates a series of crimes, he discovers that the very idea of Batman it may in fact be a control mechanism essentially for a psychotic break that he had as a child, right? And that
Okay.
this
Okay.
was built was constructed by a psychologist at Arkham who believes some woo, he believes some crazy, right? And has basically been making supervillains. He's been trying to build perfect vessels for perfect archetypal concepts, which he calls aura, right? And it turns out that he is the leader of a cult called called the uh God, it's a high end word. You'll have to give me a moment. Um, his name is Dr. Geist, by the way, as one word.
Hmm. Hmm. I do recall that
Oh, you've read this book?
a long time ago.
Well, yeah, but about 3 years. Um, um, Pardon me while I do late research at the last minute. The Stadgeist, and that's Stadtgeist.
The State Ghost.
Yeah, it's the idea of a incarnation where the state and the will of the people are harmonized, where they are one, right? Um, and basically he's trying to make iconic individuals who will manifest this, but unfortunately, because villainous lunatic, um, the the focuses he has created are malevolent, right? They reflect our most base nature. Bruce Wayne is the exception because while he is extremely violent, he is extremely controlled, right? It is actually revealed over the course of the 4 issues that Bruce Wayne is not a weakness. Bruce Wayne is a control mechanism that prevents Batman from becoming a true monster.
Mhm.
So even though it appears to be dissenting, it actually comes back around to to synthesize ultimately the Batman as we would expect it to be, where the family is the thing that makes him stronger, not weaker. Right? But it is also a more violent, darker, more psychologically unnerving Batman, which I found to be very interesting.
I remember the art was kind of like that.
Yeah. The part of the story that is weaker, and I think it might be because Mr. Grandpa is clearly from somewhere south of the border, is uh at one point uh the lower classes are becoming disdainful of the wealthy elite's abuses and basically lead a people's revolt, which Batman becomes a component of. While as Bruce Wayne, he joins the upper crust society that was otherwise ignoring it. So he's continuing to do the Zorro thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
As Bruce Wayne, he acts like part of the problem. As Batman, he fights for the people, and the people have reached a level of militancy where they're not having it no more. Um, but this means that he is supported by an underground network of dangerous homeless people who are not evil, but they will not be ground underfoot anymore by the ultra wealthy. um, because there's a trend in modern DC to expand Batman out and to give him a shadow organization like the Shadow that he is a
Mm-hmm.
ripoff of,
Also, Batman Incorporated, which there were
right.
franchises.
Although Batman Incorporated was dumb because Batman was a literal public company, and I frankly think they really should have leaned into the idea that Bruce Wayne should have immediately been brought up on charges for aiding and abetting a criminal. Because Batman's a criminal, people. Sorry, vigilantism is a crime in America.
Right. I was playing in a street level superhero game, and I was actually playing as an attorney who fought crime. And I was always making very sure to clearly outline that there's things you can do appropriately with citizens arrest
Right.
versus vigilantism. But that sounds interesting. Do you remember they did a biopic about a Neil Diamond cover band?
No.
Give me a second. Let me pull the name of that movie because I just watched that one also. It's called Song Sung Blue. So there's this guy
Mm.
who is a professional musician, sings in a bunch of bands, as is the way of professional musicians, has a day job, as is the way of professional musicians. He's a recovering alcoholic, as is the way of professional musicians. And he does the impersonator music scene in scenic Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And he gets fed up with it. He loses his one of his gigs because he doesn't want to be Don Ho. The only reason he, a white person, was asked to be Don Ho is because the Hawaiian guy had like a problem with his pancreas, and he had to go into the hospital. Um, and then he meets a girl at a gig. They hit it off, and he comes up with the idea, not being a Neil Diamond impersonator, doing a Neil Diamond experience.
Mm.
So it's like a higher end version of a cover band, I guess. This is all
Right.
about the rise, fall, and rise again of this guy who's doing Neil Diamond, and his family has a lot of bad luck, especially with medical stuff, as is the way of musicians because they're broke all the time. And this guy opened for Pearl Jam in the '90s when they were in Wisconsin,
Mm.
around the same time that Red Hot Chili Peppers had Tony Bennett open for them.
Mm.
But Eddie Vedder was actually a big Neil Diamond fan, so all that worked out. And then the capstone for this man's career is he does a big performance as a counter programming for an actual Neil Diamond concert. And um, Neil Diamond agrees to meet with him. But this guy who's had decades of his life with cardiac problems, his heart finally gives out just as he's about to meet Neil Diamond.
Oh, as is the way of biopics.
Yes, but this is what actually happened in real life.
Mm.
They were literally going to the place they were supposed to meet Neil Diamond, and his heart fucking gave out. It was an excellent movie. It was nominated for Academy Awards and deserved every nomination it got.
Mm. Did it win any of them?
No.
Mm.
But it was fascinating. What's his face? Hugh Jackman was excellent as the guy who was doing Neil Diamond. And the female who's his wife, the actress did an excellent job. Kids did a really great job.
As of
the wife had an issue where she had to get an amputation, and because she got her leg amputated, she got on drugs that she's a former polysubstance abuser, got addicted to.
As an aside, because I had not heard of this film, but if people see this film, they probably should. I want to mention something about Hugh Jackman. I know that currently, and we are not innocent, we stir the pot a little bit around here. It is popular to be pissed at Hollywood for everything, and to be very prosaic. Okay, we are not unknown to universally declare something awful. See Disclosure Day. But Hugh Jackman, the actor, has a stated reputation for being excellent, even in shit he does that's terrible.
Yes.
Okay? You didn't like Real Steel because it's Rock'em Sock'em Robots? That doesn't mean Hugh Jackman did a bad job. You didn't like Hugh Jackman's character in Chappie? Sorry, Hugh Jackman was excellent as a character you weren't supposed to like in Chappie.
Also, Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the movie, is awesome as a concept. You're wrong for not liking it.
No, well, I mean, yes, but I think it could have been a better movie.
Sure,
I have a personal bone to pick with it because I've seen that movie. It was a Twilight Zone episode. It was infinitely better. It had Vic Morrow in it. Or not Vic Morrow. The guy from The Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
But anyway. Hugh Jackman is currently getting a lot of flack, and he's getting extra flack because he had to come out in support of his film, which we assume he chose to take, but he also has to speak well of his film because he's an actor. If he wants to keep working, he's got to speak well of the property, okay? We have to give him the same credit we gave Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill spoke well of Last Jedi until he didn't have to anymore, and then he's proceeded to shit all over it, and we appreciate that. Hugh Jackman is doing a historical deconstruction of Robin Hood. It probably is on a trajectory to be absolute shit. Okay?
I mean, historical deconstructions are shit, almost exclusively.
Right, but here's the thing. There's actually a Robin Hood film that is the example of not doing it shit. And it's why this one's gonna be shit. So
and that also circles back to Disclosure Day too.
Right.
Steven Spielberg did First Contact twice in really good movies. So if you're not going to be able to do something just that good, you shouldn't retread the same theme again.
Right. So Hugh Jackman's Robin Hood film is going to be a Robin Hood film in name only. It's an original story. It's historical. It says that the legend's not true. The legend is untrue, and here's the real history. Right. And it's going to be Robin Hood as Old Man Logan, and they actually got Old Man Logan to play it. Right.
Okay.
That's on a trajectory to be bad. People may not recall, but Ridley Scott gave us a Robin Hood movie with Russell Crowe, which was the opposite end of that spectrum. It was the start of Robin Hood, and it was shit because it was a historical fiction that was entirely made up that had nothing in common with actual Robin Hood. And people may remember, and I feel sorry for you, that there was an attempt at both a what if Robin Hood was a superhero, trained by Jamie Foxx. There was a what if Robin Hood was a 20th century band of douche nozzles who were all hipsters and feminists and the message. And there was a
Well, hold up.
BBC attempt at a Robin Hood where they had Robin Hood for a season, then they killed him, then they replaced him with Maid Marian, and it failed miserably. Do you want
Well,
to know
hold
what
up.
the
Hold up. Hold
Okay,
up.
go ahead.
Hold up.
Go ahead.
Robin Hood is a superhero. It's called Green Arrow.
Right, but Green Arrow is actually good. This was what if we did the Legend of King Arthur, the recently failed movie with CGI and Excalibur giving superpowers, but we tried to make Robin Hood Batman with Jamie Foxx. It didn't work.
I remember that.
Um, no, the last good historical subversion. It's a deconstruction. We don't think it's a deconstruction, but it is. Okay, was from the 1970s. It was Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn in Robin and Marian. And do you know why that film is an excellent deconstruction?
I don't because I've never seen it.
Well, the deconstruction component is that it is historical. It is relative to the time period, trying to be historically accurate. It's not mudcore, but it is a practical exploration of the later years of Robin Hood. After he's broken with Richard, who dies, after he is again landless and a vagrant, after it is discovered that the sheriff of Nottingham could never quite get out from under the shadow of having failed to catch Robin Hood, and is back being the sheriff of Nottingham because he's stuck there, right? The reason it works though is that rather than subvert these stories, rather than shit on the legend of Robin Hood, they lean in to the last story of the Robin Hood reel, right? So it is the story of Robin Hood's last adventure, albeit a little more historical, but it has the romance. All the characters are on point as the characters should be, and it ends where the books end. Robin Hood fires an arrow from a window where he is dying and tells Little John, "Where this arrow lies, bury me." And it is amazing. It is a wonderfully fun film. Everybody is excellent. No notes. It may not have been very successful at the time. That'd be something to do research on. But it is not a film, as you say, even that you hadn't seen it, you've never heard of it. It is not a film that is reviled.
No.
And a lot of modern films we've already seen. They're not gonna they're trying. Like they're trying already with He-Man, they're trying with fucking Ghostbusters, can you believe it? They're trying to gaslight us and say, no, in time they'll be looked on fondly. It's like, no, these movies are reviled, right? It is not unreasonable in this time of shit Hollywood to say, yeah, this movie might be shit. It's probably going to be shit. We can probably hate it, but let's not take that out on Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman's given us a lot of good meals, and I suspect he still has good movies in him, and not just Wolverine. As I mentioned two sci-fi's he was in that I happen to like, at least in passing. I am one of the few people that liked him in what was it, Channel 69? It was a spoof, not a spoof comedy, uh it was a comedy with lots of vignettes, kind of like Kentucky Fried Movie.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Jackman is funny. Hugh Jackman is smart. Hugh Jackman can actually sing, whereas Russell Crowe cannot. And Hugh Jackman can dance. Let's let's give the man credit for being very skilled at what he does. Maybe we'll be so shocked to find that despite shit writing, Hugh Jackman can turn lead into gold. It could happen.
It could happen. Could happen. So we have to pour out one for one of our homies.
Okay.
Doctor Who is postponed indefinitely.
Oh no, I actually predict that we're going to see Doctor Who come back to everyone's shock because people have already pulled out a clip where Eggleston, the last Doctor I liked, should have was asked, "What would make you come back?" And he said, "I will come back if Russell T Davies is gone."
Well, there are a couple other people who need to be fired, but yes.
Yeah.
So that would be fun. That would be fun. Um,
Well, as you
but
recall, the other big comparison being made is that the Seventh Doctor this time was the last Doctor, and the last Seventh Doctor was the last Doctor for a time because he also went against the grain. The guy in the white suit with the little hat.
also, the Seventh Doctor last time was also Scottish.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, if what the rumors from the trades are saying, nobody wanted to do the role of Doctor Who.
I mean, it's poison. They
I don't think it's poison. I think it's poison with current management. I
all right.
think
So
if you had enough cachet, or if you had the balls to say, listen, you're fucking desperate, I'll do it, but here's my conditions.
all right, let me use a different word because everyone would say toxic, or everyone would say poison. Let's use a more accurate word. It's radioactive.
Okay.
Radiation has a half life. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, no.
The,
Doctor Who needs to go take a nap. That
right.
is without a doubt.
The reason nobody wants to be Doctor Who is because they're looking at the current people running it, and they're looking at the property, and they're saying, if I take this gamble and I do well, oh, at best I'm David Tennant. Possibly I'm Capaldi. I could do really well, right?
Or Matt Smith. Matt Smith did excellent.
I didn't care for Matt Smith, but I'm open to the idea that there are people that like him. I'm just saying there are doctors who did very well, right? But then they're saying this is a gamble. If I take that gamble and I lose, if I take that gamble and I am worse than the last guy, my career is done. I am burned, and I will have a half life like Doctor Who. People will compare me to my last worst role.
Hmm? No, no, you're not wrong. And the other issue was Russell T Davies wanted things to go a certain way, and nobody in BBC or any of the distributors, because BBC doesn't want to pay the money to distribute Doctor Who anymore, were willing to pay for it.
Well, I have to compare it to Star Trek, not from behind the scenes, but in the economic environment. There seems to be a pervasive misunderstanding, whether it's TV or film, that genre fiction has always and ever will be cottage industry. You make a property, the property is popular, you merchandise it, like our boy from Spaceballs, merchandising, and you make toys and you make cartoons and you make books and you make all this gaff which people will compulsively consume, right? And will they read a bad book? Yeah, but it's got to be backed by a strong property, right?
Hmm?
When you say distributors don't want to touch it, that is a deeper injury than just a bad series, right?
Yeah.
Moffat, the other architect of this disaster, was intimately involved with Sherlock.
Hmm?
Sherlock was a dumpster fire, but Sherlock didn't burn Sherlock Holmes as a character. We just said that series sucked. Benedict Cumberbatch has gone on to be very successful somewhere else.
Hmm?
Right? Star
So
Trek. The reason I make
yeah,
the
Star Trek.
comparison, Star Trek and Star Wars both. have destroyed their cottage industry. They can't move product. Classic Trek moves, classic Star Wars moves, but it's like, you want this Rey action figure? Fuck no. What about BB-8? No. Poe Dameron? No. Oh, right. Doctor Who. If distributors won't move it, it's dead. You've actually killed it. Because without the people at the lower end to move your product doesn't exist.
Now, I will say the issue is a little bit more complicated. They said frequently, well, we might do it, but we have some conditions. And those conditions were not things BBC or people who had contracts with the BBC were willing to agree to.
Right.
And I think Star Trek needs to take a nap. I think Star Wars needs to take a nap. He-Man definitely needs to take a nap.
I will agree with this argument, but I want to add a further twist to this, something that obviously will not happen. The gatekeepers need to crack the gates. And I don't mean normies going, you shouldn't touch that, it's bad. I'm saying the literary gatekeepers like Del Rey or Condé Nast, the filmic gatekeepers at Paramount and Warner Brothers and Disney, whether it's TV or film, doesn't matter. They need to ease up and let new product be built, because the problem they have right now is that they have tied up all of pop culture. All the big genre fiction properties are now tentpole, right? But they're also not letting other options come in. They're not creating a dynamic competitive market. So they can't actually take these properties off the shelf and put them down for 3 years, because in the meantime they're all asking, well, what are we supposed to make in the meantime? It's like, well, if you let new people in with new ideas, or you bought new ideas and let them play themselves out, you could absolutely fill your shelves with things. It's why, even though I may despise what they're doing with it, Netflix and Amazon are killing them. Because Amazon will take risks on someone like Murano and Has Been Hotel, because they understand if we buy that person and we buy that product, even if it's a short-term risk, it's a long-term benefit while we grind out another billion-dollar Rings of Power no one wants.
Well, here's the funny thing about Rings of Power. It has come out that the reason Rings of Power has gotten multiple seasons is because the buyout for the contract, if it didn't get multiple seasons, would have cost Amazon more money than the multiple seasons failing.
Right.
Which was not a good contract for Amazon. And the people who are responsible for their production who made that decision don't work for Amazon anymore.
But as a for instance, Disney bought Fox and had Willow. And we're like, we're going to make a Willow series. And they tanked that. They tanked it hard. Mm-hmm. Right? They clearly had a lot riding on Willow and the fact that they could get the original actors from it. Right?
Well, some of the original actors.
Well, they specifically had Willow himself. That's the thing. Right? I can't remember the actor's name. I love him. Warwick Davis. They had Warwick Davis. That's the one you need when you can't have
Val Kilmer.
We can't have Val Kilmer because Val Kilmer is dying. The thing is that they clearly were banking a lot on Willow being a success, and Willow wasn't. And so they were like, what do we do? What do we fall back on? Marvel movies are still in development. Star Wars. They're trying to make Star Wars their spine. But every new Star Wars series is a disaster of escalating proportions. Because if you didn't hear, they're doing Obi-Wan Season 2. The series nobody wanted and no one's expecting is getting a second season. Why? Because they can't
don't
afford not to.
I don't believe that it's getting a second season.
I mean, it
I've
might
heard
not,
the I've
but
heard the rumors. I don't believe them.
I mean, it's possible it's not true. But it is the kind of short-sighted panic investment I could see them making.
I mean, really, if they want to do something, they should do like they did that animated shorts sequence for Star Wars, where they had anime creators make a Star Wars.
I mean, here let's go crazy with it. You are Disney. You are the House of Mouse, right? We had a pre-Disney Spider-Man series. We had a pre-Disney Avengers series. We have the 90s era Iron Man, Spider-Man, and other series, all Marvel. Where's Disney animated Marvel? And I don't mean what if. I mean, where's my Disney Presents Spider-Man? The cartoon.
Well, that's because Disney cut their anime division, and they've been
Right.
slowly rebuilding it.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you rebuild it faster, you could make that. And if you put out a a season of Spider-Man, weekly or monthly, right?
Mhm.
And it's good because it's animated and focuses on episodic Spider-Man stories. People will eat that slop up like nothing. They will literally shove their faces in the trough while you're working on your primary products.
Absolutely.
Relative to this thing, another thing I have been speaking of that has damaged properties, they need to give up on brand synergy. Brand synergy is a fucking death march. Obviously, you want your properties to be reasonably similar to one another, right? But this compulsive need to look at a property and say, the old stuff doesn't count, only the new stuff counts. And while we're at it, all of the new stuff is the same. So you're eating the same paste no matter where you eat, is hurting, not because people don't want the paste, although that is also the problem, right? But because if it all tastes like paste and it all has the same problem, it all has the same intrinsic weaknesses. Those differences in media enhance it. Right?
Mhm.
So like if you did, okay, we're gonna do a Spider-Man cartoon. What's the Spider-Man cartoon about? Oh, it's episodic and it's fun, and it's Spider-Man stops bank robberies and gangsters every week, and sometimes we'll have a supervillain. And it's fun. The emphasis is on fun. And I don't mean LOL random fun. I mean like, yeah, Spider-Man. And you say, that's the cartoon. And then you say, we're working on a Spider-Man movie. And we say, okay, well, what's the Spider-Man movie about? It's like, well, that's the deeper, more serious Spider material. That Spider-Man spends an hour and a half wondering about, is it right to be a superhero? Right? Those are pronouncedly different flavors. Those will appease different segments of the audience. You don't have to get one audience to consume one product in all places. You only need to have different audiences consuming different products under the same broad house. We used to understand this.
Right, but Disney management doesn't understand that because that's not how their marketing program works.
Right, but I'm not just talking about Disney though, because like over in Tabletop Gaming, World of Darkness is doing it. We've got Warner Brothers is trying to make all DC materials into the same DC, and I'm just waiting for them to try and supplant regular DC with the absolute setting.
You know why they're not going to do that?
Because they haven't worked up the gumption yet to screw the pooch.
No, it's because they'd have to give Snyder an ownership stake.
We don't want to do that. But as a for instance, since we're not talking about superheroes, I want to talk about the other comic book I read this week.
Mhm.
comic book you may not
Yeah.
have heard of. I know I hadn't heard of it. I'm gonna. Yeah, this one is current. This one is 2025 to now. Have you heard of the Mortal Thor?
I have.
Oh, did we talk about it on show before?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay, because I read it. I'm caught up. I want more of
All
it.
right.
So,
Tell me about Mortal Thor.
okay, so Asgard exists, and Asgard is doing Asgard's thing in the realm of sort of story and song, as is the way of Asgard. But at some point, Thor died. Thor is big
Mhm.
dead. Now, Thor will be back because he's Thor, but Thor is currently dead. And a man named Sigurd Jarlsson, which is a horrible fucking name, but we'll let that slide, with amnesia, awakens in New York with a hammer, but not a magical one, and no idea how he got there. So he's just trying to put his life together,
Mhm.
right? But as he goes about, he is made of all the stuff a Thor would be made of. So he is a good man, doing good when and where he can, helping people, defending the innocent in a world that doesn't give a fuck who you are and what you're trying to do, right? So he shows up at a construction site to get a job, as a for instance, right? And there are people protesting the work for wage increase and the like. And basically, Thor is being given the opportunity to be a scab, right? And Sigurd is like, well, I could do that, but then I'd be a piece of shit. No, thank you. Right? And because he trades words with some of the scabs that they don't like, they track him down and try to jump him in an alley. So he beats the ever loving fuck out of them. Because they're shitheads who came to beat the shit out of him. Right? The thing is that beating up bad guys sounds like a good idea, and we all kind of feel that yeah, get him, right? But they didn't like disappear. He put two guys in the hospital. One of them is straight up dead, right? And the one guy who came away with the least number of injuries went back to his bosses and was like, "This dude beat us up. We gotta go get him." Right?
Mhm.
And so this character of Sigurd Jarlsson, who is beset by visions he doesn't understand and is being pulled into occult shenanigans, basically becomes what if Thor was Green Arrow? What if he was a street level hero, right? Like, as a for
Okay.
instance, he doesn't have Mjolnir. He can't throw a hammer at people, right? So he borrows a bungee cord and wraps one end around his wrist and one end around the handle of the hammer so he can kind of throw it at people.
Okay. Okay.
The thing is that over the course of the series, spoilers. Not only do we discover that Loki, through his machinations, has poisoned Donald Blake, who has manifested in this strange other realm as an antagonist, leading a evil snake cult, right? So if you like your sort of classic 70s into mystery flavor, it's street level Thor fighting a snake cult. And they're trying to take him alive with knockout bullets.
Interesting.
Um
Interesting.
but it is revealed that Loki is trying to make good after his many fuck ups, and that all of this is some kind of construct that he has created to guide a developing magical problem. And Odin literally shows up and says, Loki, what'd you do? And when Loki's like, well, it's kind of out of control, Odin's like, I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna see what happens. And if this goes wrong, I'm gonna land on you like the power of an angry god. Because I'll be an angry god. And the most recent books literally lead up to a supervillain who has attained a divine form. This is going to sound familiar, but I didn't know this existed, so bit of a chuckle between you and me, in joke. The mortal Thor ends up facing a demigod in the form of a minotaur who is running the Roxxon Corporation.
Huh. That's interesting.
And it's both really deep Marvel lore, which is nice. Things like the Roxxon Corporation gets seriously talked about when Roxxon's kind of a background sidelight Spider-Man thing. Most things in Spidey are about Oscorp, you know.
Mhm.
But also it's like Sigurd Jarlson is not Thor, but it is a deep character study on what it would be like to be a normal dude pulled into divine conflict, right? What do you do when your life is a story and you are just Joe Normal?
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
within a range of normal because he's obviously a superhero.
Right.
It is a fun read. It is pronounced to me because holy shit, it's a fun read from the House of Ideas. The House of Ideas came up with a fun story that is still running.
So I am going to end the show early because this intermittent signal issue is a little annoying. It's cropped up a couple of times now. I don't know if it's on your end or on my end.
It's not
But
on my end at all,
we got to.
or at least I'm not hearing it.
It's fading in and out. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But we got some good material in. And
Oh yeah.
good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Church.